3 days before Christmas, 1883, I stood in a Montana blizzard, nailing a sign to the church door while my baby daughter screamed herself unconscious in my arms. The wind cut like cavalry sabers. Snow flew sideways, hard enough to draw blood. My hands, one missing two fingers from an old war wound, shook so bad I near dropped the hammer twice. But I got that sign up. Had to. Need wet nurse. Baby starving. God help us. My name's Silas Granger. My wife Maggie had been dead 6 days, frozen solid in our barn because the ground was too hard to dig. Our daughter Rose was 8 days old and dying. Wouldn't take bottle, wouldn't take nothing but what I couldn't give her. I was a cavalry scout once. Tracked Apache through desert that'd kill a mule, took a Lakota arrow and kept riding, but I couldn't figure how to feed one 8-pound baby girl. Then she knocked. 3 slow raps on my cabin door, and a voice like cracked ice. Please. I just need shelter. What happened next saved 3 lives and near destroyed all of them. This is that story. 6 days earlier, December 18th, 1883, 2:47 in the morning. The midwife's hands were red to the elbows when she turned to me. I'm sorry, Silas. 2 words. That's all it took to end a life. Maggie lay in our bed, sheets soaked through, her face pale as January snow. The baby, our Rose, cried in a basket by the stove. Strong lungs. Maggie would have smiled at that. Fever took her too fast, Mrs. Yates said, wiping her hands on her apron. Blood and birthing water. Baby's healthy, but your wife, she's gone. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe, just stared at Maggie's hand hanging off the bed, wedding ring catching lamplight. Mrs. Yates lifted Rose from the basket and pressed her into my arms. She needs you now. The baby's weight was nothing. A sack of flour weighed more. But standing there holding her while Maggie cooled in the bed we'd shared 4 years, that weight crushed me flat. What do I do? My voice didn't sound like mine. You feed her. Every 2 hours. Keep her warm. Love her. Mrs. Yates squeezed my shoulder. I'll come check on you both tomorrow. She left. The baby cried. Maggie didn't move. By dawn, I'd tried the bottle 6 times. Rose wouldn't take it. Screamed till her face went purple, then fell asleep from exhaustion. An hour later, she'd wake up screaming again. I carried Maggie to the barn. Ground was frozen hard as iron. Couldn't dig. Laid her on hay bales. Covered her with canvas and quilts. Tried to work her wedding ring off to keep safe. Wouldn't budge. Her finger was frozen solid. I'll bury you proper come spring, I told her. I promise. The wind answered. Maggie didn't. December 19th through 22nd. The desperate days. I rode to every house within 10 miles. Anyone nursing? Anyone know someone with a new baby? Same answer everywhere. Sorry, Silas. No new mothers this winter. Rose got weaker. Her cries turned thin and reedy. She'd take a few drops of goat milk, then vomit it back up. Her cheeks hollowed. Her skin turned gray. I hadn't slept more than an hour at a time in 4 days. On the 22nd, I saddled up and rode into Sage Creek, went door to door in town like a beggar, like a madman. Please, my baby's starving. I just need... Doors closed. Women whispered behind hands. Men looked away. Finally ended up at the church. Women's Society meeting in the basement. I walked down those stairs, knowing I'd lost every scrap of pride I had left. 12 women turned to stare when I entered. Only man in the room. Widow Marjorie Keene sat at the head table. 50-some years old, rich, childless, with eyes like a banker counting coins. Mr. Granger, she said, voice cold. This is a private meeting. I need help. My hat was in my hands. When had I taken it off? My baby won't take bottle. She's dying. I'm asking if anyone knows a woman who's nursing, who might... The whisper started immediately. Unseemly. Improper. What's he suggesting? Mrs. Pritchett, the storekeeper's wife, stood. Mr. Granger, what you're asking is for a strange woman to expose herself in your home. You understand how that sounds? I understand my daughter's dying. Widow Keene leaned forward. Perhaps, Mr. Granger, you should consider placing the child with a proper family, a 2-parent home with means. I myself would be willing to. She's got a parent, me. A single father cannot adequately, she's mine. My voice came out harder than I meant. My blood, my wife's last gift. Nobody's taking her. Silence fell like a hammer. Mrs. Yates, the midwife, stood slowly. I'd help if I could, Silas, but I dried up 5 years back. Thank you for trying, Widow Keene said, dismissing me with a wave. But this meeting is for charitable works, not irregular requests. I left, climbed those stairs with my boots feeling like they weighed 50 pounds each. Outside the church, I stopped, stared at the door. Then I went back to my saddlebag and pulled out the piece of wood I'd carved and the hammer I'd brought. Nailed that sign right to the church door where everyone coming to Christmas services would see it. Need wet nurse. Baby starving. God help us. A few men gathering for evening prayer watched me. Didn't say a word. I rode home through gathering snow. That night, December 23rd, the blizzard hit. Rose screamed for 3 hours straight. My ears rang. My head pounded. My hands shook so bad I spilled the goat milk twice trying to warm it. She wouldn't drink. I held her against my bare chest. Old cavalry trick for warming dying men. Her heart beat against my ribs like a trapped bird. Please, Rosie. Please take something. Anything. She just cried. Weaker now. Fading, I started singing. Maggie's songs. Couldn't remember all the words. My voice cracked and broke, but I kept going. Hush, little baby, don't say a word. Rose's cries turned to whimpers. Then 3 knocks at the door. Slow, deliberate, almost respectful. I froze. Nobody traveled in blizzards. Nobody came this far out at night. 3 more knocks. Please. A woman's voice, muffled by wind and wood. I just need shelter for the night. I stood, Rose against my shoulder, and cracked the door open. Chain still on. A woman stood there, late 20s, maybe, soaked to the bone. Shawl frozen stiff, face pale, lips blue. She clutched a small cloth bag to her chest. Ma'am, the barn's... I stopped. Maggie was in the barn. You can come in, just till morning. Thank you. Her voice barely carried over the wind. I unchained the door. She stepped inside, dripping melted snow. Then Rose screamed. Sudden, sharp, hungry, and desperate. The woman stopped dead. Stared at the baby. Her hand flew to her chest, pressed over her blouse where dark, wet stains were spreading fast. She gasped. Tears filled her eyes instantly. How old? She whispered. 8 days. She stumbled back against the doorframe. I had a son. Her voice broke. 5 months ago. He died 2 months after birth. Fever. And my body it doesn't understand he's gone. She pressed both hands to her chest. The milk still comes. Every day. Every morning. I throw it away. Every drop hurts. Rose screamed louder. The woman sank to her knees, sobbing. Every drop I waste when someone needs it. When a baby's crying and I'm throwing it away like garbage. I stared at her, at Rose, at the spreading stains on the woman's blouse. She's hungry, I said. The woman looked up at me, tears streaming down her cheeks. Let me help, she whispered. Please, let me help. I helped her to the chair by the fire. She was shaking, cold and shock and something else I couldn't name. What's your name? I asked. Beatrice. B. She couldn't take her eyes off Rose. What's hers? Rose Margaret, after both her grandmothers. B nodded. Her hands trembled as she unbuttoned the top of her blouse. I turned away instinctive, gave her privacy. It's all right, she said softly. You'll need to hand her to me. I turned back. She'd arranged herself modest, shawl-draped, strategic. I placed Rose in her arms. The baby rooted immediately, found what she needed, latched on. The sound of her drinking, desperate, hungry, alive, hit me like a fist to the chest. Bee gasped, closed her eyes. Tears ran down her face, but she was smiling. That's it, she whispered to Rose. Eat, sweet girl, I've got you. I stood there useless, watched my daughter finally get what she needed. Watched this stranger cry and smile at the same time. Watched both of them save each other. "Thank you," I managed. "Thank you," she said back. We didn't speak again till Rose fell asleep, milk-drunk and content, against Bee's chest. I gave Bee my bed, took the floor by the fire myself. Rose slept in her cradle between us. For the first time in 6 days, the cabin was quiet. I lay on the hard floor, staring at ceiling beams, and let myself breathe. Rose was alive. That's all that mattered. Morning came cold and bright. Blizzard had passed. 2 feet of fresh snow covered everything. I woke to the sound of Rose fussing. Bee was already up, changing the baby's diaper with practiced hands. "Sorry," she said. "Didn't mean to wake you." "You didn't." I sat up, bones creaking. "You know what you're doing." "Had practice." Her face shadowed. "Before." "We didn't talk about before. Not yet." I made coffee, fried salt pork and cornbread. We ate in silence while Rose nursed again. "The storm's passed," Bee said finally. "I should probably stay." The word came out harder than I meant. I softened it. "Just a few days. Till Rose is stronger. Till we figure something." She looked at Rose, at me, at the cabin that was warm and safe and better than whatever she'd been walking toward in that blizzard. "A few days," she agreed. December 24th, Christmas Eve. Bee moved through the cabin like she belonged there. Washed Rose's diapers and hung them by the stove, swept the floor, mended a tear in my shirt without being asked. I chopped wood, checked the animals, avoided the barn where Maggie lay frozen. Around noon, I saw them. 2 riders on the ridge, watching the cabin. By evening, there were boot prints in the snow outside. Fresh ones, leading up to the window, then away. Someone had been looking in. At dinner, beans and the last of the bread, Bee said, "People know I'm here." "Yeah, they'll talk." "Let them." She fed Rose, rocking slow. The baby's eyes drifted shut, content. "I'm not what they'll say I am," Bee said quietly. "I'm not. This isn't." "I know what this is," I said. "It's survival. Mine and hers." I nodded at Rose. "That's all that matters." But I saw the worry in her eyes. That night, past midnight, I woke to the sound of paper sliding under the door. Got up quiet, retrieved it. Words scratched in charcoal. "Sinner whore, God sees." I crumpled it. Threw it in the fire. Checked the window. Saw torches. 4 of them, maybe 5, moving slow down the road toward town. They'd been here, watching, judging. I looked at Bee asleep in the chair, Rose in her arms, both breathing steady and peaceful. Let them judge. Rose was alive. That's what mattered. I added wood to the fire and sat guard till dawn. December 25th, Christmas morning. The knock came at 6 a.m., hard, official. I opened the door. Marshal Oswin Hodge stood there, badge on his chest. 6 men behind him on horses. "Silas Granger," he said. "We need to talk about your situation." Behind him, I saw Widow Marjorie Keene, sitting side saddle, face set hard, and Elwood Pritchett from the general store, smirking. "What situation?" I asked. "The woman, the baby, the arrangement." Marshall's jaw was tight. "Folks have concerns. Folks can take their concerns and—" "Silas," his voice dropped. "Don't make this harder. Let us in. Let us see the child's being cared for proper." From inside, Rose started crying. Bee's soft voice, soothing her. The marshal's eyes flicked past me into the cabin. "Step aside," he said, "or I'll have to make you." I didn't move. Behind me, Bee appeared in the doorway, Rose in her arms, hair loose, blouse still showing milk stains. The men stared. Widow Keene's face went cold as the snow around us. "Marshal," she said, "I believe we've seen enough." Marshal Hodge didn't dismount, just sat his horse, eyes moving from me to Bee to Rose and back. "Mrs. Keene has filed a formal concern," he said. "Says the child may be in an improper environment." "Improper how?" I kept my voice level. "She's fed, warm, safe. She's being nursed by an unmarried woman, Widow Keene said from her horse. A stranger, in a home with no female kin present. It's indecent, Mr. Granger. Bee stepped forward, Rose clutched tight to her chest. My name is Beatrice Thorne. I'm a widow. I lost my son months ago and still have milk. This baby was starving. I'm keeping her alive. What's indecent about that? Where's your husband buried? Elwood Pritchett called out. Bee's jaw tightened. Kansas. Cholera. Got papers proving that? Got papers proving you care about anything but gossip? A few of the men shifted in their saddles. One almost smiled. Marshall raised his hand. Enough, Mrs. Thorne. You got family here? References? Anyone who can vouch for your character? No. Then we got a problem. He pulled a folded paper from his coat. Territorial law says a child needs proper supervision. Single father with no female relation living on premises. That's grounds for review. He handed me the paper. I unfolded it. Official seal at the top. Legal words I could barely read. What's it say? I asked. Bee took it, scanned it quick. Her face went pale. It's a custody notice. You have 30 days to establish a proper household arrangement, or they can remove Rose temporarily. Remove her where? Widow Keene spoke up. I've already petitioned to serve as emergency guardian. I have means, standing, a proper home. She ain't property, I said. My voice came out quiet. Dangerous. Not while I'm breathing. No one's saying she's property, Silas. Marshall shifted in his saddle. But law's law. You got 30 days. Find a wife, hire documented help with live-in chaperone, or the judge'll have to decide what's best for the child. He turned his horse. The others followed. All except Widow Keene. She stayed, staring at Rose with hunger in her eyes that made my skin crawl. 30 days, Mr. Granger, she said. Then she comes home with me where she belongs. She rode off. I looked at the paper nailed to my doorpost. The hammer blows still echoed in my ears. Bee stood beside me, Rose nursing under her shawl. What do we do? She whispered. We got 30 days to prove I'm fit. And if we can't? I didn't answer. Didn't have one. We went inside. Bee laid Rose in her cradle, then sank into the chair. This is my fault, she said. I shouldn't have stayed. Shouldn't have. You saved her life. And now they're using it against you. I knelt by the fire, added wood, watched flames catch and grow. Town's always been like this. Small minds, big mouths. They see sin where there's just survival. They'll never accept me, us, this. She gestured at the cabin, the baby, the impossible situation. I'm a stranger with no proof of anything I've said. For all they know, I'm exactly what they think. What do they think? She looked at me straight. That I'm a whore using a baby to get close to a widower with land. The word hung in the air like smoke. Anyone who thinks that's a fool, I said. Fools vote. Fools sit on juries. She wasn't wrong. Rose stirred, made a small sound. Bee went to her automatic, scooped her up, started rocking. I watched them together, the way Bee's hand cupped Rose's head, the way Rose turned toward her like a flower to sun. You're her mother now, I said. In every way that matters. Bee's eyes filled with tears. Don't say that. Why not? It's true. Because if they take her, her voice broke. If they take her, and I've let myself believe, I can't lose another baby, Silas. I can't survive it again. I stood, walked to her, put my hand on her shoulder. Then we fight. She looked up at me. How? However we have to. That afternoon, riders came again. Not the marshal this time. Just townsmen, 8 of them, led by Elwood Pritchett and his brother Jeb. They stopped at my gate, didn't dismount, just sat there staring. I walked out onto the porch, rifle visible but not raised. State your business or ride on, I called. Just making sure everything's proper, Jeb called back. Seeing as the marshal gave you official notice and all. It's proper. That woman still here? Mrs. Thorne is helping care for my daughter, with my permission, on my land. Your land, Elwood grinned, for now. What's that supposed to mean? Means a lot can happen in 30 days. Property can burn. Accidents happen. Man alone with a baby and a strange woman. Well, folks worry. I raised the rifle, not pointing at anyone, just making it visible. Any accidents happen on my property, I'll know who to visit after. The men exchanged looks. That a threat, Silas? It's a promise. Jeb spat tobacco juice into my snow. 30 days, old man. Clock's ticking. They rode off. But I saw one of them look back. Saw the way his eyes went to the barn where Maggie lay, the barn full of dry hay and old wood. I spent the rest of the day moving Maggie's body to the root cellar. Frozen ground down there. Cold. Safe. If they wanted to burn something, they'd burn empty buildings, not my wife. That night, B cooked. First real meal I'd had in weeks. Venison stew with the last of the root vegetables. We ate in silence. Rose slept in her cradle. Silas, B said finally, there's something I need to tell you. I waited. I'm not really a widow. My spoon stopped halfway to my mouth. My husband's alive, in Kansas. His name's Clyde. She kept her eyes on her bowl. I left him 8 months ago after Nathaniel died. He blamed me, said I was weak, that I didn't pray hard enough to save our son. He wrong? About the praying, maybe? About me being weak? She touched her ribs, old pain there. He made sure I knew what he thought, with his fists. I set my spoon down careful. He ever come looking for you? I don't know. I've been moving, town to town, trying to disappear. She finally looked at me. That blizzard I was in? I wasn't looking for shelter, Silas. I was looking for an end. The words settled heavy. Then you heard Rose cry, I said. Then I heard her cry. And my body responded before my mind caught up. The milk came so fast it hurt, and I thought, she smiled sad. I thought maybe there was a reason I was still breathing. Outside, wind picked up, rattled the shutters. If Clyde shows up, I started. He'll claim me, legally, as his wife, and everything falls apart. Not if you're already claimed by someone else. She stared at me. What? 30 days to establish proper household, I said. Marshall said marry or lose Rose, so we marry. Silas, you can't, can and will, if you're willing. I met her eyes. Won't be real. Just paper, just protection for you and Rose both. That's not fair to you. Fair left town about the same time my wife died. I pushed my bowl away. Question is, you willing to tie yourself legal to a broken-down cavalry scout with a baby and enemies? B looked at Rose, at the cabin, at me. Ask me proper, she said. What? If we're doing this, even just on paper, ask me proper. I stood, walked around the table, got down on one knee. Beatrice Thorne, will you marry me to save my daughter and keep yourself safe from a man who don't deserve you? She smiled, first real smile I'd seen from her. That's the worst proposal I ever heard. It's the only one I got. Then yes, I'll marry you, Silas Granger. We shook hands like we'd just agreed on a cattle deal. Outside in the distance, I heard horses and saw the first orange glow of fire on the horizon. The old homestead was burning, 2 miles south. The place where I was born. Where my father raised cattle and taught me to ride, where all his tools and my mother's dishes and the land deed were stored. I ran for the barn, started saddling my horse. B grabbed my arm. You can't go alone. It could be a trap. That's my father's legacy burning, and Rose is your daughter who needs you alive. I stopped. She was right. By the time we got there, me on horseback, B and Rose safe in the cabin, the house was gone, just a smoking shell. Roof collapsed, walls fallen in. I sifted through ash with my bare hands, burned them, didn't care. The land deed, gone. My father's rifle, melted. Family Bible, nothing but char. Everything that proved this land was mine. Ashes. I sat in the ruins and didn't cry, was too tired for tears. Heard a horse approaching. Marshall Hodge. He dismounted slow, looked at the destruction. Silas, I need you to come with me. For what? Widow Keene filed charges. Says you threatened her yesterday. Says you're dangerous, unstable. Judge issued a warrant. I stood up slow. Ash covered my clothes, my hands, my face. I never threatened her. She's got witnesses. Elwood Pritchett and his brother. Say you brandished a weapon, made verbal threats. I defended my property against a mob. Judge sees it different. He pulled out shackles. I'm sorry, Silas. Truly. What about Rose? B can't protect her alone if Mrs. Yates volunteered to stay with them. He saw my face. They'll be safe. You have my word. I held out my hands for the shackles. What about whoever burned my house? I'll look into it. Will you? I met his eyes. Or will you just look the other way like everyone else? He locked the shackles. Didn't answer. They rode me through town, Christmas morning. People leaving church. Everyone stared. Silas Granger in chains. The strong man broken. Women pulled their children close. Men looked away. Only one person held my gaze. Mrs. Yates. Standing outside the church, she nodded once. A promise. She'd keep them safe. The jail cell was small, cold, one thin blanket, bucket in the corner, window too high to see out of. Marshall locked the door. Hearings in 2 days. December 27th, Judge Carver's presiding. He's sympathetic to irregular arrangements? He's sympathetic to law and order. Nothing else. Marshall hesitated. Silas, I'm going to tell you something. Can't help you public, but maybe it helps private. I waited. There's a territorial statute, old one, about adoption and provisional guardianship. He pulled a paper from his coat, slid it through the bars. Says if a woman nurses a child not her own for 7 consecutive days, she can claim milk kinship. It's legal precedent for guardianship. I stared at the paper. Why are you telling me this? His face went hard, painful. 12 years ago, my wife died in childbirth. Baby girl. Lived 3 hours. Sarah was her name. I said nothing. I was younger. Followed what the preacher said. Divine will. God's plan. His voice cracked. But every day since, I wonder. If there'd been someone like Mrs. Thorne, someone with milk to give, would Sarah have lived? He gripped the bars. I can't help you publicly. Widow Keene's got influence, money, but that statute's real. You get to 7 days with Mrs. Thorne nursing Rose, you file this. It might hold against Keene's petition. How many days we got so far? 3. You need 4 more. He stepped back. Doc Brennan will testify. Mrs. Yates will. Even I'll try to say what I can without losing my badge. Won't be enough against money and town opinion. Maybe not, but it's something. He walked away. I sat on the bunk and read the statute by candlelight. Territorial Statute 47, Section 12. In cases where a child's survival depends upon the milk of a woman not its mother, and said woman provides continuous nursing for 7 or more days, a bond of milk kinship may be recognized. 7 days. We'd done 3. 4 more, and we had a legal argument. 2 days till the hearing. The math didn't work. That night, the cell next to mine spoke up. Old drunk. Been there 3 days. You the cowboy with the baby? Yeah. Heard about you. Town split. Half think you're a sinner. Half think you're just trying. Don't matter what they think. Matters what the judge thinks. Yeah. Silence. Then, I lost my family once, the old man said. Wife left. Took the kids. Said I wasn't man enough. I didn't respond. Didn't care. She was right. I drank instead of working. Blamed the world instead of fixing myself. Point? Honor ain't land, son. Ain't money. Ain't even blood. He coughed. Honor's how you stand after you fall. And you're still standing, shackled and jailed, but standing. I thought about that. About Maggie dead in the root cellar. About Rose alive because B knocked. About how I'd lost everything except what mattered. Yeah, I said finally. I'm still standing. Morning came cold. Deputy slid a paper under my door. Custody hearing, December 27th, 1883, 9 o'clock a.m. Judge Thaddeus Carver presiding petition by Marjorie Keene for emergency custody of minor child Rose Margaret Granger. Below that, in different handwriting, Bring Hope. O.H. Marshall Hodge. Trying to help without helping. I folded the paper and tucked it in my shirt. 2 days till I faced a judge in a town that already decided I'd lost. But I had something they didn't count on. I had B. I had Rose. And I had the desperate determination of a man with nothing left to lose. That's a dangerous kind of strength. They were about to learn that. Mrs. Yates came at noon with food. Bread, dried meat, water. "How's Rose?" I asked before she even opened the basket. "Thriving. Bee's got her." "That woman's a natural, Silas." She handed food through the bars. "Baby's gaining weight. Color's good. She's peaceful." "And Bee?" Mrs. Yates's face tightened. "Scared. Knows the hearing's coming. Knows what's at stake." I ate the bread without tasting it. "Town treating her all right?" "Town's leaving her alone. For now. I'm staying nights at your place. But Silas," she lowered her voice, "there's talk about the fire at your homestead. Doc Brennan found a kerosene can behind the barn. Wasn't accident." "Who?" "Don't know yet, but someone wanted to hurt you specific." I gripped the bars. "If anyone touches Bee or Rose, they won't. Doc and I are watching. Marshall too, in his way." She squeezed my hand through the bars. "You just survive till that hearing. Then we fight." She left. I lay on the bunk and stared at the ceiling. Counted days in my head. December 25th, today. Day 4 of nursing. December 26th, tomorrow. Day 5. December 27th, hearing. Day 6. Still 1 day short of 7 for the milk kinship statute. But maybe 6 days plus Doc's medical testimony plus Marshall's quiet support. Maybe it'd be enough. Had to be. December 26th, the day before the hearing. Deputy let me out into the yard for an hour. Exercise, he called it. Really just pacing in a small square of frozen mud. I saw him then. Stranger. Tall. Mean-looking. Riding into town on a horse that had been ridden hard. He stopped at the general store. Talked to Elwood Pritchett. Then they both looked toward the jail. Toward me. My blood went cold. I knew that look. The way a man stands when he's tracking something. Someone. Deputy called me back inside. "Who was that?" I asked. "The stranger?" "Don't know. Just rode in asking questions." "What kind of questions?" "About a woman. And I said he's looking for his wife." My chest tightened. "What's his name?" "Didn't say. But I knew. Clyde Thorne. Bee's husband. The man she ran from. He'd found her." I paced my cell like a caged animal. Had to warn Bee. Had to get out. "Deputy!" I shouted. "I need to send a message. It's urgent." "Can't do that, Silas. You're in custody till the hearing." "There's a man in town. Dangerous man. The women at my cabin. Marshall knows. He's handling it." "Handling it how?" No answer. I slammed my fist against the wall. Worthless. Trapped. While Bee faced her abuser and I couldn't do a damn thing. That night, late, I heard voices from the front office. Man's voice. Rough. Angry. Looking for my wife. Beatrice Thorne. "Heard she's here." Marshall's voice careful. "What makes you think that?" Posted notice in 3 territories. Someone wired back saying they seen her. In Sage Creek. At a rancher's cabin. Lot of cabins around here. One with a baby. One where some woman's playing mama to another man's kid. Silence. Then, "If your wife's here, she's under no obligation to see you. Montana Territory recognizes abandonment and cruelty as grounds for separation." Abandonment? She's the one who ran off? After you beat her? That's a lie. She's dramatic. Always was. Deputy saw the bruises on her ribs yesterday. Doc confirmed old fractures. My heart pounded. They'd examined Bay. Documented the abuse. Building a case. Clyde's voice went dangerous. She's my wife. Legally. I got rights. You got the right to state your claim at the hearing tomorrow. Judge'll decide. I ain't waiting for no judge. I want her now. Then you'll wait in a cell next to Mr. Granger. Scuffling. A shout. Then Clyde's voice further away. Fine, I'll be at your damn hearing. But that woman's coming back to Kansas with me. She's got land to sign over, and I ain't leaving till she does. He left. I heard the front door slam. Marshall appeared at my cell. You heard? Every word. He's staying at the boarding house. I put a deputy outside your cabin. Bee and Rose are safe tonight. What about tomorrow? Tomorrow we fight in court instead of the street. He looked at me hard. You got anything that proves Bee deserves protection? Anything beyond Doc's report? I pulled out the milk kinship statute. This, plus 5 days of nursing, plus medical necessity. 6 days tomorrow, still one short. It'll have to be enough. Marshall nodded slowly. Get some sleep. Tomorrow decides everything. He walked away. I didn't sleep. Just counted hours till dawn. December 27th, morning of the hearing. They let me wash, gave me clean clothes, led me to the town meeting hall in shackles. The room was packed. 50 people, maybe more. Judge Carver at the front, 70 years old, federal appointment. Face like carved granite. Widow Keene sat with a lawyer, expensive suit, brought from Helena. Elwood Pritchett and his wife in the third row. Doc Brennan and Mrs. Yates in the back, Marshall by the door. And there, in the front row, Bee. Rose in her arms. Our eyes met. She looked terrified. I tried to smile, reassure her. Then I saw him. Back corner, leaning against the wall, Clyde Thorne, watching Bee like a wolf watches a lamb. She hadn't seen him yet, but she would. The judge banged his gavel. This court is now in session. Judge Carver didn't waste time. This is an emergency custody hearing. Mrs. Marjorie Keene petitions for immediate custody of minor Rose Margaret Granger on grounds of paternal unfitness. Mr. Granger, you have right to speak in your defense. They removed my shackles. I stood. Your Honor, I'm fit. I'm feeding my daughter, keeping her warm and safe. I got help doing it, and I ain't ashamed of that. The help being Mrs. Beatrice Thorne? Yes, sir. An unmarried woman residing in your home without chaperone or female relation? A widow who saved my baby's life when nobody else would or could. Widow Keene's lawyer stood. Objection to characterization, Your Honor. Mrs. Thorne's status as widow is unverified and likely false. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Judge banged his gavel. Noted, Mrs. Keene, present your case. Widow Keene stood, composed, practiced. Your Honor, I come not from malice, but from concern. Mr. Granger has suffered tremendous loss, but he is ill-equipped to raise an infant daughter alone. The child requires female guidance, moral instruction, stable resources. I can provide all of that. You have no children of your own? No, Your Honor. But I have means, a substantial home, household staff, social standing, and most importantly, time and dedication to give this child the life she deserves. Mr. Granger has secured assistance. Why is that insufficient? The lawyer stepped forward. Because the assistance is improper, Your Honor. Mrs. Thorne arrived under suspicious circumstances. She has no verifiable history, no references, no proof of her claims. Her presence in Mr. Granger's home creates an environment unsuitable for a child. I stood. Unsuitable. She's keeping Rose alive. Judge's gavel cracked. Mr. Granger, you will speak when recognized. I sat, jaw clenched so tight my teeth ached. Prosecution witnesses, Elwood Pritchett took the stand. Lawyer, Mr. Pritchett, you witnessed Mr. Granger's behavior on December 24th. Yes, sir. He brandished a rifle at concerned citizens who came to check on the child's welfare, threatened violence if we didn't leave his property. That's not... I started. Judge. Mr. Granger, Elwood continued. And this woman, Mrs. Thorne, she appeared from nowhere in the middle of a blizzard. No history, no references. For all we know, she's a vagrant using that baby to secure shelter. Bee's face flushed red, but she stayed silent. Mrs. Pritchett testified next. As a mother of three, I can say with certainty that Mr. Granger's home is not suitable for an infant. A child needs a mother's touch, proper moral guidance. This arrangement is unseemly at best, scandalous at worst. Doc Brennan testified for me. Rose was dying. Infant failure to thrive. She refused all artificial feeding. Without intervention, specifically human milk, she would have died within 48 hours. Lawyer. And there was no other option. No charitable society, no proper wet nurse. Nearest wet nurse I knew of was 90 miles away. In a December blizzard, the child would have died in transport. What is your medical opinion of Mrs. Thorne's care? Professional. The child has gained appropriate weight, no signs of neglect or harm. Mrs. Thorne has likely saved this baby's life. Mrs. Yates testified. I delivered Rose, saw Maggie die. Silas Granger loves that baby more than his own life. And Mrs. Thorne, she's got more mothering instinct than half the women in this room. Widow Keene stood. That's slander. Mrs. Yates turned to her. It's truth. Y'all care more about appearances than that baby's heartbeat. Judge banged his gavel. Order! Marshall testified carefully. I served papers because territorial law required it, but I've observed the situation. Mr. Granger has fought to keep his daughter fed and safe. Mrs. Thorne has provided necessary care. Do you believe the child is in danger? Long pause. No, Your Honor, I don't. Then the lawyer dropped his bomb. Your Honor, I'd like to call a final witness, someone with direct knowledge of Mrs. Thorne's character and marital status. My stomach dropped. Mr. Clyde Thorne. Bee went rigid. Rose sensed it and started fussing. Clyde stepped forward from the back, smiled cold. Bee turned, saw him, and the color drained from her face. Clyde took the stand. Judge, state your relation to Mrs. Thorne. I'm her husband, legally wed 5 years ago in Lawrence, Kansas. The courtroom exploded. Judge's gavel. Order! Order! Clyde continued. She ain't no widow, Your Honor. She ran off from our home 8 months ago without word or warning. Left me to wonder if she was dead or alive. I've been tracking her across 3 territories. Bee stood, Rose clutched to her chest. You beat me. You blame me for Nathaniel's death. I left to survive. I disciplined a disobedient wife, Clyde said calmly. That's my right. I lunged from my seat. Marshall and a deputy grabbed me. You son of a... Judge's gavel slammed repeatedly. Mr. Granger, sit down. They forced me back into my chair. Clyde smiled. Point is, Your Honor, she's my wife. Any arrangement she made here is invalid without my consent. She belongs with me. And I'm taking her back to Kansas where she belongs. Bee's voice shook. I won't go. You don't have a choice. Judge held up his hand. Mr. Thorne, this hearing concerns custody of the Granger child, not your marital disputes. The lawyer interjected smoothly. With respect, Your Honor, it's directly relevant. If Mrs. Thorne is married and her husband reclaims her, she cannot remain in Mr. Granger's household. Thus, the child loses her caregiver, proving the arrangement is unstable. Judge leaned back. Considered. My world was crumbling. Doc stood. Your Honor, I examined Mrs. Thorne yesterday. She has old rib fractures consistent with repeated abuse. This man is dangerous. Clyde. That's a lie. She's clumsy, always was. I documented everything, Doc said. Bruises at various stages of healing, defensive wounds on her forearms. This woman fled abuse. Judge. Nevertheless, if they are legally married, he has claim. B stood fully. Then I'm filing for divorce. Montana territory allows it on grounds of cruelty. I have witnesses, medical documentation. I'm not going back. Clyde stepped toward her. You'll do as you're told, woman. Marshall moved between them. Back off. The room was chaos now. Everyone talking at once. Judge slammed his gavel until the room quieted. I've heard enough. His voice was final. This court finds that while Mr. Granger's intentions may be honorable, his household arrangement is unstable and improper. Mrs. Thorne, being legally married to another man, cannot continue as caregiver regardless of her personal wishes or medical necessity. Your Honor, I started. Furthermore, the child Rose Margaret Granger is hereby placed in emergency custody of Mrs. Marjorie Keene, pending permanent adoption proceedings. No! The word tore from my throat. Bea collapsed into her seat, sobbing. Rose began screaming. Judge, Mr. Granger, you have 30 days to appeal. But as of this moment, custody transfers to Mrs. Keene. Widow Keene stood, tried to hide her triumph, but couldn't quite manage it. I'll provide excellent care, Your Honor. Judge, transfer will occur immediately. Marshal, oversee it. Marshal looked sick but nodded. A deputy approached Bea. Ma'am, the baby. No. Bea backed away. She's nursing. You can't. Court order, ma'am. Bea looked at me, desperate, helpless. I was still held by two men. Couldn't move. Couldn't help. She unwrapped Rose from her shawl with shaking hands. Rose, sensing separation, screamed louder. Bea kissed her forehead. Her tears fell on the baby's face. I'm so sorry, sweet girl. I'm so sorry. She handed Rose to Widow Keene. The baby reached back for Bea, screaming, desperate. Widow Keene held her awkwardly. Hush now. Hush. But Rose wouldn't stop. The sound of her screams, raw, terrified, hungry for her mother, broke something in me I didn't know could break. Please, I said. My voice cracked. Please. She needs Bea. Needs her milk. She'll starve again. Judge, Mrs. Keene will make appropriate arrangements. This hearing is adjourned. He stood. Left. Widow Keene carried screaming Rose toward the door. Bea tried to follow. Clyde grabbed her arm, hard. You're done playing house, he said. Time to come home. She jerked away. I'm not going anywhere with you. Yes, you are. He pulled a paper from his coat. Got the deed to your daddy's land right here. You're gonna sign it. Then I don't care what you do. Marshall stepped in. Let her go. This is between me and my wife. Let her go. Clyde released her, but didn't back off. She's my property, Marshall. Law says so. Law also says I can arrest you for assault if you touch her again. They stared at each other. Finally, Clyde stepped back. I'll be at the boarding house. You got 24 hours to sign, Beatrice. Then I start making things difficult. He left. Bea sank to the floor, sobbing. Mrs. Yates rushed to her. I stood there in the emptying room, listening to Rose's screams fade into the distance, listening to Bea's sobs, feeling everything I'd fought for torn away. Marshall approached me, put shackles back on. I'm sorry, Silas. I didn't respond. Couldn't. They led me back to jail. Night of December 27th, cell. I sat in darkness, didn't eat the food they brought, didn't move, just replayed Rose's screams in my head, over and over. The old drunk next door had been released. I was alone. Around midnight, I heard it, distant, but clear. Rose crying. From Widow Keene's house 3 blocks away, I could hear my daughter screaming. She wouldn't stop. I pressed my forehead against the cold stone wall and let myself break. 1:00 a.m. Footsteps. Mrs. Yates appeared at my cell. Silas. I looked up. Widow Keene sent for Doc an hour ago. Rose won't eat, won't settle, just screams. She's tried everything. She needs Bea. I know, we all know. She gripped the bars. But Clyde's got Bea locked in Keene's guest room. Won't let her near the baby. Says he's keeping her secure until she signs his papers. Rage flooded through me, pure and hot. Where's Marshall? Looking for legal grounds to intervene, but Clyde's right about one thing. Law says he's got claim on his wife. To hell with law, I stood. Get me out of here. I can't. Then get Doc, get Marshall. Tell them Rose is gonna die if she don't get Bea. Tell them this ain't about law anymore. It's about saving a baby's life. She nodded and ran. 2:00 a.m. Marshall appeared. Unlocked my cell. You didn't see me do this, he said. Where we going? to save your daughter, and probably lose my badge in the process. Doc was waiting outside with Mrs. Yates. We moved fast through empty streets toward Widow Keene's house. Rose's cries carried through the night. Hoarse now, weaker. We pounded on Keene's door. She answered, frantic, hair loose, nightgown, Rose in her arms, red-faced and screaming. "Thank God," she said. "I can't, she won't, I don't know what to do." Marshall pushed past her. "Where's Mrs. Thorne?" "Guest room, second floor. But Mr. Thorne has the key and he's—" I was already up the stairs. Found the door, locked. "B. Silas?" Her voice muffled. "Is Rose—" "I'm getting you out. Stand back." I kicked the door. Once. Twice. Wood splintered around the lock. Third kick, and it crashed open. B stood there. Bruised face. Split lip. Clyde had hit her. "Where is he?" I asked. "Saloon. Been there for hours." She looked past me. Heard Rose crying. "Oh God. She needs—" "Come on." We ran downstairs. Widow Keene held Rose. The baby was limp now, exhausted from crying. B took her immediately. Rose latched on desperate. Drank like she'd been dying. The room went silent except for nursing sounds. Widow Keene sank into a chair, put her face in her hands. "I thought I could do it," she whispered. "Thought love would be enough. But she doesn't want me. She never wanted me." B looked at her. No anger, just truth. "She wants her mother. And that's me." Widow Keene nodded, started crying. "I know. God help me, I know." Marshall cleared his throat. "Mrs. Keene, I need you to tell me something. Did you pay Clyde Thorne to testify?" She looked up, face streaked with tears. "Yes." The word hung there. $200. I told him if he claimed Mrs. Thorne, it would undermine Mr. Granger's case. I just wanted a baby so badly." Her voice broke. "I've lost five babies. And I thought maybe God was finally giving me a chance. But not like this. Not by destroying people." Doc spoke quietly. "That's perjury, Mrs. Keene. Conspiracy to defraud the court." "I know. I'll confess. Tomorrow. To the judge. I'll make it right." Marshall nodded. "You'll face charges, but given your cooperation—" He looked at me. "Silas?" I stared at Widow Keene, the woman who'd tried to take Rose, who'd bribed Clyde, who'd nearly destroyed us. But I saw her face now. The grief, the desperation, the loneliness that drove her to this. "You're lonely," I said. "I understand that. But lonely don't give you right to steal other people's families." "I know." "You'll withdraw your petition, tomorrow, in front of the judge," she nodded. "I will." "And you'll testify about Clyde, about paying him." "Yes, everything. I promise." I looked at Rose, nursing peacefully in B's arms. "Then we're done here." We left. All of us. Walked back through dark streets. At the boarding house, light still burned in one window. Marshall stopped. "That's Clyde's room." I started toward it. Marshall grabbed my arm. "Silas, don't, not like this. He beat B. Tried to buy her like property. He needs to answer for that." "He will. In court. With Widow Keene's testimony, we can file charges. But if you go up there now, you'll give him grounds to claim self-defense. You'll end up back in that cell." I wanted to hit something. Someone. Wanted to make Clyde feel a fraction of the pain he'd caused. But Marshall was right. What do we do? We wait. Let him drink himself stupid. Tomorrow, we hit him with conspiracy charges, fraud, and assault. Then we get B a legal separation, and you two get married proper. By the book, so nobody can touch you again." B stepped close, Rose asleep against her shoulder. "Silas," she said quietly, "I don't need you to fight him. I just need you to choose us. Choose this family we're building. The rest will follow." I looked at her, at Rose. At the life I could have if I just let go of rage and held on to hope. All right, I said. We do it legal. We do it right. Dawn, December 28th. Doc had followed Clyde the night before, stayed in the saloon, listened. At breakfast, he told us what he'd heard. Clyde, drunk, bragging to anyone who'd listen. That bitch wife thinks she can run. I'm just here for the land. Don't care about her or that dead baby. Widow lady paid me $200 to mess up the Cowboy's case. Once I get the deed signed, B can throw herself off a cliff for all I care. 6 men heard him, including the bartender and a deputy, all willing to testify. Marshall filed charges immediately. By noon, Clyde was arrested. By evening, Widow Keene had withdrawn her petition and confessed to Judge Carver. The judge was furious. Emergency hearing scheduled for the next morning. That night, Reverend Polk came to the cabin. Silas, Mrs. Thorne, I owe you an apology. I stood silent when I should have spoken. We remember, I said, which is why I'm offering this. Mary, tomorrow, before the hearing, show Judge Carver a proper household. I'll perform the ceremony. Call it penance. B looked at me. We'd talked about this. A paper marriage for protection. But standing there, Rose between us, something shifted. Ask me again, B said. Like you mean it. I got down on one knee. Beatrice Thorne, will you marry me? Not just for papers, not just for Rose, but because in the worst week of my life, you showed up and made me believe in grace again. Because you're already Rose's mother, and I'd be honored if you'd consider being my wife. For real. For always. She smiled, tears in her eyes. Yes. God help me. Yes. We married at dawn. Simple ceremony. 5 witnesses. B wore Mrs. Yates's Sunday dress. I gave her Maggie's wedding ring. She took it gentle. You sure? Maggie gave me Rose. Rose brought you. That ring's a circle. Unbroken. When Reverend Polk pronounced us husband and wife, I kissed her soft and careful. Rose slept between us. Our family. Legal now. Real now. Marshall clapped me on the back. Now let's go win this hearing. December 28th, 1883, 9 o'clock a.m. Emergency hearing. Judge Carver looked like he'd aged 10 years overnight. This court reconvenes regarding custody of Rose Margaret Granger. New evidence has come to light. Marshall presented everything. Widow Keene's signed confession. 6 witness statements about Clyde's drunken admissions. Doc's medical affidavit about B's abuse injuries. Bank records showing Keene's payment to Clyde. The judge read each document, his face darkened with every page. Mrs. Keene, he said finally, stand. She did, shoulders back, accepting her fate. You bribed a witness, corrupted this court's process, caused immeasurable harm to this family. Yes, Your Honor, I did. I'm guilty of everything. You'll face charges, fraud, perjury, conspiracy. I understand. I deserve it. Judge turned to where Clyde sat in shackles. Mr. Thorne, you accepted payment to testify falsely. You admitted publicly that you care nothing for your wife's well-being and only want her property. Is this accurate? Clyde glared. I want what's mine. Your wife is not property, sir, and under territorial law she has filed for separation on grounds of documented cruelty. This court grants that separation effective immediately. B gasped. Furthermore, Judge continued, you are hereby ordered to relinquish any claim to Mrs. Thorne's inherited property. You will leave Montana Territory within 48 hours and not return. Failure to comply will result in immediate arrest. Clyde stood. You can't. I can and have. Deputies, remove him. They dragged Clyde out. He screamed threats the whole way. B leaned against me, shaking with relief. Judge looked at us. Mr. Granger? Mrs. Granger? He paused on the name. You're married now? Yes, Your Honor, this morning. Show me the certificate. Reverend Polk handed it forward. Judge examined it, nodded. Mrs. Granger, how many days have you been nursing Rose? 6 days continuously, Your Honor. Marshall stood. Your Honor, Territorial Statute 47, Section 12, regarding milk kinship. I'm familiar with the statute, Marshal. Judge pulled out a law book, flipped pages, read. The courtroom held its breath. Finally, the statute requires 7 days. You're 1 day short. My heart sank. However, Judge continued, given that separation was forced by this court's corrupted ruling, and given Mrs. Granger's immediate return to nursing upon reunion, and given medical testimony that the child's survival depends on this bond, he closed the book. I'm willing to count the interrupted day as continuance of care. 7 days satisfied. Hope flared. Furthermore, Doc Brennan's medical affidavit, Marshal Hodges' testimony, and Mrs. Yates's character witness all support that this child is thriving under current care. He looked at Widow Keene. Mrs. Keene, your petition is denied. Permanently. You will have no contact with this family unless they invite it. Understood? Yes, Your Honor. He looked at us. The previous custody order is hereby reversed. Rose Margaret Granger is remanded to the care of her father, Silas Granger, and his legal wife, Beatrice Granger. The courtroom exploded in applause. I couldn't breathe. Bea sobbed into my shoulder. Rose slept through it all. Furthermore, Judge said over the noise, I'm officially recognizing the milk kinship bond between Mrs. Granger and Rose. Mrs. Granger has full legal rights as the child's mother. Adoption formalized pending standard 30-day review. More applause. Judge banged his gavel. This court is adjourned. He stood, looked at me. Mr. Granger, you've been through hell. I'm sorry this court contributed to that, but you did right by that baby. Both of you did. He nodded to Bea. Go home. Be a family. And Merry Christmas, even if it's 3 days late. Thank you, Your Honor, I managed. We left the courthouse. Townspeople gathered outside, dozens of them. Some looked ashamed, others smiled. Mrs. Yates hugged Bea. Welcome to the family, dear. Doc shook my hand. You're a good man, Silas. Even a few who'd been in the mob approached. We were wrong, one said. Sorry for that. I nodded. Accepted it. What else could I do? Widow Keene came out last, in Marshall's custody but not shackled. She approached us slow. I don't expect forgiveness, she said. But I am sorry, truly, and I'm glad Rose has what I never could give her, a real family. Bea looked at her. In time, maybe you can visit, when Rose is old enough to understand, but not now. Widow Keene nodded. Thank you for that mercy. She left with the marshal. We stood in the morning sun, snow melting, first hint of spring in the air, even though it was still December. What now? Bea asked. Now we go home, I said. We bury Maggie proper. We live. She smiled. Yeah, we live. Rose woke up, looked around at the three of us, and smiled. First real smile I'd seen from her, like she knew, like she understood. This was family. This was home. This was grace. Spring, March 1884. The ground thawed. We buried Maggie on a warm morning with crocuses pushing through snow. Just us. Bea, me, Rose. Reverend Polk said words, simple and true. I placed wildflowers on the grave. Thank you, I said to Maggie. To the earth. To whatever listened. For Rose. For sending Bea. For everything. Bea stood beside me, hand in mine. She'd be proud of you, she said. Of us, I corrected. Rose sat in a basket nearby, watching with solemn eyes. 3 months old now, getting strong. Her clubfoot didn't slow her. I'd built a special boot that helped. Doc said with time and the right support, she'd walk just fine. We planted a white fir tree by Maggie's grave. This tree's for you, Maggie, I said. It'll grow tall. It'll last, like your love for Rose, like the family you started. The tree stood small but sturdy, ready to weather whatever came, just like us. That evening, we sat on the porch. Bea nursed Rose. I whittled a new booty. Rose was outgrowing the first one already. Silas, Bea said, I've been thinking. About? Widow Keene. She asked if she could visit when Rose is older. I stopped whittling. You want that? I don't know. Part of me wants to say no forever. But part of me, she looked at Rose, part of me knows what it's like to lose a child, to be desperate. She did wrong, but she's paying for it. And maybe forgiveness is worth more than grudges. I thought about that. When Rose is old enough to understand, I said, when she can decide for herself if she wants to know the woman who tried to take her, then we'll see. B nodded. That's fair. We sat in silence, comfortable now, the kind of quiet that comes from knowing someone deep. I love you, B said suddenly. I looked at her. What? I love you. Not just as Rose's father, not just as the man who gave me safety, but you, Silas Granger, the stubborn cavalry scout who'd rather die than give up, the man who cried holding his starving baby, the one who turned away when I nursed to give me dignity. She smiled. That man, I love that man. My throat went tight. B, you don't have to say it back. I know this started as protection, paper marriage, but it's not paper anymore, not for me. I set down the whittling, took her free hand. It stopped being paper the moment you knocked on my door, I said. I just didn't have words for it till now. But yeah, I love you too. She leaned in. I kissed her. Rose made a small sound between us, not protest, just presence. We laughed. Our daughter has timing, B said. Our daughter, I repeated, testing the words. They fit perfect. Summer. And July 1884. Rose was 6 months old, sitting up, laughing at everything. Her clubfoot boot worked so well, Doc said she'd be walking by fall. Bee's belly was just starting to show. Another baby, due in winter. We hadn't planned it, but we weren't sorry. Rose is going to be a big sister, Bee said one night, hand on her stomach. Think she'll mind? I think she'll love it, Bee smiled. Besides, this house has room for all the love we can make. I pulled her close. Maggie wanted 6 kids. Did she? Yeah. Said this land could hold that much love. Bee looked around our small cabin. It can. It will. Fall. October 1884. Widow Keene sent a letter. I read it aloud to Bee. Dear Mr. and Mrs. Granger, I have completed my sentence of community service. I wanted you to know I've been volunteering at the orphanage in Helena, helping children who have no one. It doesn't erase what I did, but it helps me remember what matters. I made a quilt for Rose. Yellow ducks on blue gingham. I'm leaving it at the general store. You don't have to take it, but I wanted her to have something made with love, not desperation. I pray for your family every night, not because I think I deserve God's ear, but because you deserve his blessings. Respectfully, Marjorie Keene. Bee was quiet. What do you think? I asked. I think, she paused. I think we should get the quilt. I went to town, brought it back. It was beautiful, tiny stitches, perfect ducks, made with the kind of care only a woman who'd wanted a child her whole life could give. We put it on Rose's bed. She grabbed a duck and laughed. Thank you, Marjorie, Bee whispered. For this, for stepping back, for trying. I squeezed her shoulder. Forgiveness was harder than anger, but it was also freer. Winter. December 1884. 1 year after. Anniversary of the day Bee knocked. We lit the lantern in the window. Rose, now 9 months old, watched from Bee's lap. Tell her, Bee said. Tell her what? The story. How we became a family. I sat down. Rose looked at me with Maggie's eyes and Bee's smile. Once upon a time, I started, there was a cowboy who thought he'd lost everything. 3 years later. December 1886. Rose was 3.5. Walking perfect in her special boots. Talking nonstop. Smart as a whip. Her brother Thomas was almost 2. Named after Bee's first son. A way of honoring what was lost while celebrating what was found. Bee was pregnant again. Due in spring. We'd expanded the cabin, added rooms. made space for the family we were building. That evening, Rose helped me light the lantern. "Why we do this, Papa?" she asked. "For Mama Maggie," I said. "Your first mama. She's watching from heaven. The light tells her we're okay." "Is Mama B my real mama?" I looked at B across the room. She watched us, waiting for my answer. "Rose, you got two mamas. Maggie gave you life. B gave you living. Both are real. Both love you. You understand?" She thought about it with the seriousness only a 3-year-old can manage. "So I'm double lucky?" "Yeah, sweetheart. You're double lucky." She smiled, lit the lantern with my help. The warm glow filled the window. I picked her up. We walked to the cottonwood where Maggie was buried. The white fir we'd planted was taller now, strong, green even in winter. "Hi, Mama Maggie," Rose said. "We still love you." The wind blew gentle. "She says she loves you too," I told Rose. "How you know?" "Because love don't end, baby girl. It just changes shape." We went back inside. B had supper ready. Thomas in his high chair making a mess. The new baby kicking visible under B's dress. This was family. Not the one I'd planned, not the one I'd dreamed, but the one Grace gave me when I was too broken to ask. And it was perfect, but the story doesn't end there. One evening in spring, when Rose was 4, there was a knock at the door. B and I exchanged looks. Knocks still made us nervous. I opened it. Widow Marjorie Keene stood there, older, thinner, humble. "I'm sorry to intrude," she said. "I wrote asking if I could visit. You never replied. But I was passing through to Helena, and I wanted to see her, just once, from a distance. I won't ask for more." B came to the door. Rose peeked around her skirts. "Who dat?" Rose asked. B looked at me. I nodded. "Rose," B said gently. "This is Mrs. Keene. She knew you when you were very small." Rose stared at her with frank curiosity. "You nice?" Widow Keene's eyes filled with tears. "I try to be. I wasn't always, but I'm trying now." Rose considered this, then held up her doll, the one Widow Keene's quilt was wrapped around. "I like the ducks," she said. Widow Keene smiled through tears. "I'm glad." "You want to see my baby brother?" "He smells, but he's nice." We all laughed. B stepped back. "Would you like to come in? For coffee?" "I don't want to impose. You're not," I said. "Not anymore." She came in, careful, respectful. We sat, talked. She met Thomas, told Rose stories about when she was tiny. After an hour, she stood to leave. "Thank you," she said, "for this mercy, for letting me see her thriving. It's more than I deserved." "We're all just trying to do better," B said. "You included." At the door, Rose hugged Widow Keene's leg. "Come back sometime," she said. Widow Keene knelt down. "You sure?" "Mama says you're lonely. I don't like lonely. You can visit and not be lonely." Widow Keene looked at us. We nodded. "I'd like that very much," she said. She left. Rose waved from the porch until Widow Keene's wagon disappeared. "We did good?" Rose asked. "Yeah, baby," I said. "We did real good." That night, Rose asleep, Thomas asleep, B and I on the porch under stars. "You think Maggie would approve?" B asked. "Of all of this? Me, the kids, even Widow Keene visiting?" "I think Maggie sent you," I said. "I think she knew Rose needed more than I could give alone. I think she picked you special." "You really believe that?" "I have to believe something bigger than chance brought you through that blizzard to my door on the exact night Rose was dying. Call it God, call it Maggie, call it grace. But yeah, I believe." B leaned her head on my shoulder. "Then I believe too." We sat in silence. The lantern burned in the window. The white fur rustled in the breeze. And somewhere, I swear I heard Maggie laugh. Not sad, not haunting, just pleased. Pleased that her baby was loved. Pleased that her cowboy had found light again. Pleased that Grace had knocked, and we'd answered. Present day, 35 years later. I'm 72 now, sitting in my study with a fire crackling and snow falling outside. Same gentle Montana snow that tried to kill us all those years ago. On the mantel behind me sits three things. Rose's first clubfoot boot. Tiny thing. Barely fits in my palm now. But I kept it. Reminder that what the world calls broken can still walk tall. Maggie's wedding ring in a small frame. The one that wouldn't come off her frozen finger. The one I gave to B. She wore it 33 years till arthritis made it too tight. Now it rests here between two photographs, Maggie holding newborn Rose and B holding that same baby 3 weeks later. Both mothers, both real, and the lantern. Still works. We light it every night. Started as tribute to Maggie. Became tradition. Now it's just what the Granger family does. Light in the window means someone's home, means someone's waiting, means you're never alone. Rose is 38 now, got 3 kids of her own. That clubfoot never slowed her down once we figured the right boot. She's a teacher. Teaches children nobody else wants to teach, the ones with limps and scars and broken homes. Says her mama B taught her that love don't require perfection, just presence. B's in the kitchen right now making supper. We raised 6 kids total in that little cabin we kept expanding. Every time we thought we were done, Grace knocked again. Foster kids, orphans, neighbor children who needed feeding. Our table got longer every year. Thomas runs the ranch now. Good man, got his mama's kindness and my stubborn streak. The others scattered. Helena, Billings, one all the way to San Francisco. But they come back, every Christmas, every summer, fill this place with noise and love and the kind of chaos that makes you grateful to be alive. Widow Keene passed 5 years back, peacefully, in her sleep. She'd spent her last years volunteering with orphans and unwed mothers, became the woman she always could have been if pain hadn't twisted her first. Rose spoke at her funeral. Called her Auntie Marjorie, said she taught us all that people can change if you give them space to try. I learned something that winter of 1883. Maybe you did too, listening. Learned that dignity ain't blood or land or money. Dignity's how you stand when everything's stripped away, when you're in shackles or holding a starving baby or walking into a blizzard thinking it's your last night. Dignity is asking for help when pride says, suffer alone. It's opening your door to a stranger. It's choosing mercy when rage says, strike back. Family ain't always born from blood. Sometimes it knocks in a storm, desperate and drowning same as you. And if you're brave enough to open that door, if you're humble enough to say, I need you, and wise enough to hear, I need you too, that's when grace stops being a church word and starts being a lived thing. I was a cavalry scout, tracked men through desert and snow, survived arrows and frostbite and war. But the bravest thing I ever did was let a stranger nurse my dying baby, was letting B love us when I barely knew her name, was choosing hope when every logical bone in my body said, give up. Sometimes the strongest thing a man can do is break. Let himself be seen as weak and scared and not enough, because that's when other people can step in. That's when grace has room to work. The lantern's burning in the window right now. Can you see it? That light's for anyone who needs it, for the desperate father, the running mother, the broken soldier, the lonely widow, the child nobody wants. Light says, you're not alone, you're not too broken, you're not past saving, you just gotta answer when grace knocks. B's calling me for supper now. Rose brought the grandkids over, 3 little ones who call me Gramps and climb on me like I'm a tree. Thomas is arguing politics with his brother at the table. The baby, well, she's 22 now, but she'll always be the baby, is setting out plates. This is what the other side of winter looks like. This is what happens when you choose living over dying. When you say yes to grace even when it arrives cold and wet and unexpected on your doorstep. So if you're listening from some dark place tonight, thinking you're too broke to fix, too lost to find, too alone to matter, I'm here to tell you different. Grace knocks. Sometimes in blizzards, sometimes in strangers, sometimes in hungry babies and women with milk and hearts big enough to love what ain't theirs by blood but is by choice. You just gotta answer the door and keep the lantern burning. Till next time, friends, may your dignity carry you through the storms, and may you always have light in the window.